There are just 5 days between kids and heading back to school. Entering a new high school can be daunting at the best of times, but moving from a new country where you may not be studying in your first language adds a whole other level of intimidating. There are nearly 400 newcomer students starting high school in Regina next week, and that is why the Regina Open Door Society has been training established students as peer supporters in schools. Today on Blue Sky, we're going to meet some of them. We'll talk about everything from making friends to dealing with anxiety and adjusting to culture and climate shock. If you moved to Saskatchewan from another country to attend school, what was your experience like, and how can people make things more welcoming and easier for you? Call 1-800-716-2221 or send us an email, bluesky@cbc.ca. Our guests today are fresh off of training with the Regina Open Door Society, and they're excited to get back to school. Most of them are anyway, and share their experience with people who are new to the school and to Canada. I have a full studio with me here in Regina. Ansh Budadev is going into grade 12 at Campbell Collegiate. Viomini Tanwar is going into grade 12 at Miller Composite High School. And Sifty Kaur is going into grade 11 at Sheldon Williams Collegiate. And joining us via Google Meet from Lumsden is Carrie Boo. She is going into grade 11 at Lumsden High School. Welcome to all of you. Welcome to Blue Sky.
Thank you for inviting us.
Oh, hang on. It works better when our microphones are on. There we go.
Oh, thank you for inviting us.
Okay, I want to know more about what made each of you want to be a peer support leader. Ansh, let's start with you.
So when I came in Canada in 2018, there was no program like this, so it was really hard for me. I still remember the days when I was pretty lonely. I was scared to make new friends, so I joined this program to help other people make their life easier, help them make friends, help them, make their struggle less.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be there for them as a friend, help them in any way possible, because Campbell is a big high school.
It is.
And when I came, I was in elementary, so it wasn't that bad, but knowing that if a newcomer comes in Campbell, it's really hard to make new friends because especially this year, there's 1,700 people. So I was like, I want to join this program. I want to help as many people as I can, and I want to make a small change in the community.
How old were you when you came to Canada?
I was 9 years old.
What do you remember about it? When did you come? What time of year did you come?
I came in September, mid-September.
Okay, so you got a little bit, you eased into winter.
Yeah, it was a bad winter. That year it went minus 50 during Christmas. I still remember. I went to someone's house for a Christmas celebration, and it was really cold. And it was my first winter too, so it was not a fun time.
What do you remember about coming to Canada?
Well, first of all, I didn't want to come here. But now looking back at it, it was a good decision that my parents made. And I remember that when I went to school for the first day, I didn't know anyone. Language was a big barrier. I knew English, but the way Americans and Canadians speak English is way different than back in India and Asia. So that was a big barrier, but they put me in EL after a week, so I started getting used to the English, and then now here I am.
What was the trickiest part of learning English? Was it slang? Which was the hardest part for you?
There were slangs. There was a lot of different words. Like for glasses, they use a different word here compared to back in India. And then there were just a lot of new words that I learned. And it was pretty hard to remember at first. But then as school went by, as I started talking more in English, I got used to it.
Okay. Viomini, what about you? What made you want to be a peer support leader?
I'm actually born and raised in Saskatchewan, so I have a lot of friends who are immigrants themselves. My parents are immigrants, and they came in the early 2000s, and there wasn't much support in terms of, generally for immigrants. And so seeing my friends really struggle with language and communicating and talking with teachers about struggles they had at school, I could help them as much as I could, but seeing this program with the Regina Open Door Society, I thought I could make some impact.
Where did your parents come from?
They came from India in 2005.
And what year were you? I hate asking this question. What year were you born?
I was born in 2008.
2008. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was finished university then. Okay, tell me about what they've told you about the experience of coming here. I imagine there's a lot of conversation in your family about
Absolutely.
what it was like coming over from India.
Yeah, I mean, no family. You have to start brand new and fresh. So they had to, relearn culture and society and how to fit in. And they were pretty young adults. And so they're trying to figure out, as a new couple coming to Canada, trying to find a job. And my parents definitely struggled mentally as well, with lots of students here as well. How do I, fit in? Like, I'm bringing my culture here, but, Canadian culture is such a contrast from Indian culture that my parents experienced. So hearing their stories of, isolation and loneliness was really, depressing to hear from my parents. And so I would, I talk to them and hear these stories. And so I'm really happy I joined this program.
What set you up for success? How did they make sure that you wouldn't be isolated and that you would have a different experience as you grew up than they had when they came to Canada?
Yeah, definitely. Well, they first emphasized that culture is important, that I need to learn Canadian culture, but also, retain my Indian culture, that I grew up here. And it's not a shame to be different from other people around me, and I should celebrate that always.
Amen.
Thank you.
Sifty, why did you want to be part of the program?
Well, growing up in elementary school, I was the only brown kid in my school until grade 8, where we had some new students, and they were also from India, so I felt connected to them. But I also felt different because they still, they grew up in a different place, and I felt like an outsider on both sides because I moved here when I was 3.5. So I don't really remember growing up in India, but it was also hard fitting in as a kid. So eventually when I came into high school in grade 9, I met a lot of great people, and my teachers encouraged me to join this peer leaders program because they saw potential in me. And I always liked talking to people. I've always liked listening to their problems. I always like communicating, so I thought that I could make a difference, which is why I joined.
What was your parents you were born?
No, my parents were also immigrants.
Okay, so you came over when you were 3.
Yes.
I'm sorry, finding my words is apparently a challenge
No
today.
problem.
So coming over, do you have siblings?
Yes, I have 2 younger sisters.
So you are leading them through this experience.
Yes.
How is what they grew up in, because you see them growing up through the school system, how is it different from what you experienced just as you see things change?
Well, for me, back when I was in elementary school, there were hardly any immigrants. So I always felt isolated from other people because in my school, the majority of people were Canadian. But as my sisters go through school, I see there's a lot of people from our own religion and culture, as well as people who were born here. And I just see that she's getting the best of both worlds. And I just wish it was something that I also got.
Tell me more about religion and culture. How do you stay connected to that? I mean, you were 3 when you got here, but obviously this is important to you.
Yeah. My parents are really big on religion, and it's caused me to also become really big on religion. I'm a Sikh, and they've always encouraged me to help people as part of our religion, and whenever we have camps, I always volunteer just because I want to teach people, teach kids what I had struggled learning because I didn't get to learn it from someone my age. I always had to learn it from people who are way older than me, and sometimes their words didn't make sense to me, which is why...
That's such a polite way of saying old people.
But yeah, I've always been connected to my religion and culture because my parents would never let me forget it. And I'm very thankful for that because I feel like, sometimes when you move, it's a hard thing maintaining your culture. You become so engrossed in learning about your current life that you forget your old one. So I'm really glad my parents never forgot our culture and religion because they're not only teaching me to become better, but they're motivating me to my future kids, motivate them to do better as they did to me.
Okay. I want to go to Carrie. Carrie,
Yeah.
Why did you want to be part of the program?
I want to be part of the program because I feel like, it's such a nice thing to help people that, they just come here and they need help. And I feel like it will be a good thing if I can go and help them. So, yeah.
So tell me about your family's experience. When did your family come to Canada and what has your experience been like?
Yeah, my parents got here in 2019, I believe, and we come here on November. So it was really cold when we just step out of the airplane. It was really cold. To be honest, that was not a good experience. I didn't have enough coat on and jacket, so it was really, really cold. And because I wasn't born here, I was born in China, and I come here when I was 10, like grade five. My English was really, really bad because back in my country, I didn't really learn. I never thought that I really gonna use English as like a way of like I really need it, so I didn't really pay attention to it. uh, yeah. Uh, yeah, and I come here, there's a lot of people and teacher and my friends and even my classmate, they help me a lot. So I feel like that's such a great thing. Like, so I want to become
Carrie,
someone.
when you came in 2019, we go into a pandemic in 2020.
Yeah.
How was that for you in terms of making friends and learning language when you're stuck at home?
It was really hard, honestly. I feel like my English skill didn't improve at all for that whole year. I didn't make any friends. I was just stuck in a room. You know, if I have to do online classes, I go on to the Zoom meeting. And after classes, I basically do nothing because in my in-house we speak Chinese because both of my parents don't know how to speak English. So I don't really have any chance to practice and communicate with others. So that's kind of a really challenging part.
Are there other immigrant newcomer families in Lumsden? What is the population like out there right now when it comes to the school?
Actually, I don't really know much about this town, but I know that it's kind of a really small town, I think. And I don't know if there's any immigrant, honestly. Because when I first
when you go to
here,
school, it's just you?
I think so. Yeah, if I didn't, I think so. Yeah, but everybody in my school is really nice. Like they helped me a lot. And all of the teacher, like they helped me a lot. They didn't like, even though I was the kind of the only immigrant in there, but I feel really welcomed, like both in school and in the town. So, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about. I want to talk about your training, but I also want to talk about language because I think that that's something that we've kind of addressed here, both with you and with everyone else. How important is it to have those opportunities to speak English in a safe space where you have those community connections where they can say, actually, you meant this without being insulting and like helping people along? V, what do you think about that?
I mean, I spoke English most of my life, and so for me, it's really interesting to see how people communicate in various ways. With this program, I've been doing it for 3 years, so that was the first barrier when we meet newcomers. How do they feel comfortable enough to just even start talking to us, getting over that social fear? And so what we found is that we would come at lunch, and our EAL teachers at our school are phenomenal. Shout out to them. They come up with these awesome games, and what we would do is actually when they learned something in class. Let's say they learned how to play Go Fish last year. And so what we would do is we would ask them to explain the game to us, and then we would play Go Fish with them. I mean, I knew what Go Fish was, but it was a safe space for them to practice English and learning to communicate with us and having fun doing something they just learned and enjoy. And whenever we meet monthly for those meetings, they just have fun and they're in a safe space with some of their other friends who are also immigrants and people who have gone through similar experiences.
How do you integrate that into classmates who grew up in Saskatchewan? Maybe the furthest they've come in is from a farm. How do you integrate everybody into a space so that you're not just in tiny circles of people?
Yeah, absolutely. So we also connect with other clubs. Like I'm part of our choir and our band program. So what I do is I reach out to, other new immigrants that come and tell them, hey, do you want to join something, music related? Are you interested in, activities as such? And we help them connect and join into larger clubs. And, for me, music is kind of a universal language. And so that was a way for me to communicate with them and kind of integrate into, Canadian high school life.
And when you came here when you were 9.
Yeah.
So you've had some time to get used to the Canadian school system. But when you thought about going into high school, what were you most afraid of?
I was afraid of making new friends because I always wanted to go to Campbell. And when I found out that I'm actually going to Campbell, it's in my boundary. I was kind of scared at first because I heard that a lot of bullying and stuff like that happens. So I was like, how I'm going to overcome that. And I was also afraid of making new friends because at that time I was an introvert. But now that I am going in grade 12, I spent 3 years in high school. I'm not that much of an introvert. I do speak to new people. So I feel like it's just...
You've pushed yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you address bullying? Was it an issue for you?
No, I mean, I did see it happen, but I never experienced it. And I'm glad that I didn't experience it, but I'm also sorry for people who were a victim of it because it's definitely not a fun thing. And I wish I could stop it, but it was not in my control. So
What do you do if you see it?
I mean, I would call the teacher, I would call the principal, and I would just try to stop it. I would interfere and try to stop it, but I did see it happen once. One of my friends tried to stop it, and then he went to the office and he almost got suspended. So I was like, I'm not trying to interfere in that. So yeah.
You're like, please, I am not interested.
I'm just trying to stay away from it.
I'm just trying to get into university.
Yeah.
I don't want anything on my record.
Yeah.
Sifty, you talked about being the only brown kid in your elementary school. What was it like getting into high school where suddenly there's more?
Well, for me personally, it was very intimidating because my whole life I was like, in a minority. So it was really different for me. And, I was the only person from my elementary school to go to Sheldon. So I had to make all new friends. So I was very scared to talk to those people because I'm like, oh, what if they judge me? But it just took some confidence. But I'm really glad I came to Sheldon because not only did I make friends with new people, but I changed lives talking to people who were very introverted. I made sure they had a safe space. So I'm really glad I did decide to overcome my fear of talking to them.
What other school would you have attended? Where did most of your friends go from elementary school?
Well, in my area, it was Martin.
Okay.
But yeah, my parents wanted me to be closer to the Sikh temple, so which is why I went to Sheldon, and I'm really glad I did.
Is there a Sikh community at Sheldon? Is there more Sikh students there as well?
Yes, we don't have a specific club over there, but yeah, there's a lot of Sikh people, and hopefully this year, next year, I do hope to start a Sikh community club in our school to help those people feel more welcome.
That's awesome. I want to Carrie, what about in terms of Lumsden and the community? What does your peer support training, how is that going to translate when you go back to school next week? What's the hope?
Because it was a really small town, so there won't be any real much newcomer coming over. But I wish that just in case if somebody like me, immigrants, they come over, they don't know what to do, I could be the one that, be like, hey, how's your day? You want to do something? You want to speak up? What do you want to do? Something like that. I just feel like it would be such a nice thing for me to help them, especially in a small community when, she probably don't know anyone from this town, because that is what I feel like when I come to this town. And all of my friends, classmates, they help me and make me feel welcome, make me feel like I could, say something, even though, even though if my English was terrible at that time, I'm brave enough to speak up and say something, answer teacher questions, something like that. It really helped me to become more open. And yeah,
Lumsden's K to 12, right? Like kindergarten to grade 12?
Yeah, I think so. We have an elementary school. I think it's till grade 7, and we have another high school.
Okay.
There.
I'm not as much in the loop with the smaller town high schools. So do you remember having a fear of going into high school?
Yes, I do. I feel like because we are going through the COVID-19, so I didn't practice my English skill. I just worry that if I go to high school, what should I do? I feel like I don't know anything. I feel like my English skill wasn't good enough for me to go to high school. So yeah, it was really scary. And also I noticed that there will be other school like Regina Beach. They're gonna come over to our high school. So I'm gonna definitely meet more people. So yeah, I was like, I should be more openings to make friends. And also in high school, you kind of become independent. You have to talk to teacher when you have questions. You cannot just wait until they come over and figure it out what's wrong with you. You have to go talk to them. So that's one of my fear when I go to high school. But honestly, it was not bad after finishing grade 9. Yeah, I think it was not bad. It was not bad at all. It was really great. Better than I thought it would be.
I'm Sam McKegg. Today we are talking to peer supporters, the kind that exist in high schools. It's part of a new Regina Open Door, well, not that new, but it's new-ish, Regina Open Door Society program. And we're learning about what it's like to be a newcomer in high school, but also what it's like to be in high school right now. And that's some of the things I want to talk about in this next segment here. Things are very different from when I went to high school. I went to Riffle, full disclosure, grew up here in Regina. And I'm one of those people that saw new kids come in and tried to be as welcoming as I could be. What would make the biggest difference, do you think, for kids who've grown up here, who've had friends since kindergarten, who have those long, well-established friendships? What would make the biggest difference to kids that are newcomers to make their lives a little bit easier? Who wants to take that one?
I can take
Sure.
that. I think as someone who's grown up and been raised here,
Yeah.
I think it's really important to just present yourself as someone welcoming and kind. Having just smiling at somebody in the hallway can make a really big difference, and they can see someone in the hallway and say, hey, that person's nice. You know, I can go maybe talk to them and, you know, maybe meet people and have conversations and whatnot. I think it's also really important that you be proactive and, you know, not have that mentality of like, I'm also scared to go into high school as well, but I think it's more easier if we all come together as a community and, you know, we rough it out together. And yeah.
Okay, let's talk about cell phones. Do we all have a cell phone? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes? Carrie, you have a cell phone? Okay, how old were you, Carrie, when you got your cell phone?
I think I get it when I was in grade 8.
Okay.
So, yeah.
How old were
that's
you when you
I
got your phone, Veem?
I was in grade 9, so.
How old were you?
I believe grade 6.
Oh, how old were you when you got your cell phone?
Grade 9.
Grade 9. Grade 6. What were the rules around your cell phone?
For me, it was mostly because I walked home from school, so my parents wanted me to always be safe, you know, in case there was ever like stranger danger. They always wanted for me to have a way to communicate with them. But it was just, don't use your phone too much, and it's mostly like if you want to use it at school, use it at school. When you come home, spend time with your family.
Okay. Let's talk about a phone as a tool. How helpful do you find your phones to be in the classroom? Are we allowed to use them? How is that working in high school?
It's interesting to see. My school implemented like a phone like locker kind of system.
Yep.
Like you hang up your phone in a pouch before like the government mandate. So it's interesting to see. It's a fine line between like the teacher like has to like indicate the rules, and it's kind of dependent on how they feel about it. But essentially, we pretty much don't use phones at all in class.
What about you guys?
For me, I think it was my school. It depended on what teacher, but a lot of teachers did use the locker system. So when the cell phone rule was implicated, it didn't cause too much of a difference, especially in those classes. But yeah, definitely in other classes, it was definitely difficult, you know, to not bring up my phone and check the time, you know. But yeah, that's about it.
Carrie, what about you? Are you able to use your phone as you're still working on your English? Is the phone helpful for that?
Before when I was back in elementary school, my teacher definitely allowed me to use like, you know, Google Translate on my phone so I can use my phone. And also back in elementary school, I think the teacher just let us to put it on silence so it wouldn't interrupting the class. And actually all of my classmates follow it, so it wasn't a problem. And then when I go to high school, you know, the government phone policies start, and we have to put our phone in like a little pouch in front of the classroom. So, and then teacher will like count the number on it, make sure everybody hand it in. And by that time, I feel like I really don't need Google Translate in my daily study. I feel like it would be a good way for me to actually face the I don't know how to say, challenges.
Yeah.
So I don't rely on my Google Translate. But like if I need it, if I ask my teacher, I believe they will actually allow me to use it. But it was kind of like a personal thing. I don't want to use it because I want to face the challenge so I can grow.
I love how much you guys know about the government's ban on cell phones in classrooms. Or is it because everyone's parents were like, oh, not in my hands. The government made me do it. And what about you? Do you use your phone in school at all?
Yeah, well, before the ban, I used to use it almost every class, especially for math. I would use my phone as a calculator, but when it was
Now you
exams
have to use
or
your
quiz,
brain.
yeah, now I have to use my calculator and my brain. So it was a hard change, but now we got used to it. It's been like quite a long time since the ban, so yeah.
How do phones work in terms of developing friendships? Where do you stand on using apps like Instagram and Snapchat and those kinds of things? Are those still being used in high schools?
Yeah, you can still use it, but like during classes, you can't use your phone. You have to either put it in a phone holder or you have to keep it in your pocket. And
what about between classes, though? Are people what kind of apps are grade 11 and 12 students using now to chat with each other and socialize?
Mostly Snapchat and Instagram. And you can use your phone between classes, but like in Campbell, there's only 4 minutes. And if you have to go from one end to the other end, it's going to take like more than 4 minutes because there's so many people in the hallway and almost all the staircases are busy. So there's no way you can use your phone. And if you do, you're going to be late to class.
Has anyone fallen down the stairs because they're on their phone?
Yeah, multiple times. That's normal.
When I was in high school, we didn't have texting. We just had phones, so no one used them because the people you wanted to see were in class with you, so the phone stayed in the locker. But people fell down the stairs at Riffle all the time anyway because they're very steep. What about you, Sifty, in terms of cell phone use between classes, after school? What are people using where you go to school? And even in your religious community, what kind of feedback are you hearing about apps and talking to each other?
Well, for my school, yeah, we also use Snapchat and Instagram, and we also have 4-minute in between time, like between classes. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's too many students at Sheldon, but there's definitely enough that during that time the hallways are very crowded. So whoever is on their phone, they just slow down everyone. It's not really
so it's a move it or lose it situation.
Yeah. So there's a lot of shoving, but in my opinion, Snapchat and Instagram is not really important during school. I feel like, what are you gonna do in 4 minutes? I don't think
you sound like such a little adult. I appreciate that. Carrie, are you using your phone to communicate with your friends between classes or after school? Is that something that you're doing a lot of?
Yeah, definitely. I've been on Snapchat a lot, during classes because we have a really, I wouldn't say big, but our school is definitely smaller than the city school, high school. So it's kind of really easy for me to go class to class. And also I would text my friend, be like, oh, what do you guys learn in this class? Because I have to do it now. I would be like, oh, what do you guys learn? So I can get ready. And also keeping streaks on Snapchat. The
Snapchat streak is real. Yes, I have a 13-year-old at home who the streaks are real. They're important. I don't know why they're important, but they're important.
Yeah, and I sometimes I will forgot to answer it, and he broke it, and my friends will be like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Sorry," but yeah, it was a really I would say that it have both good thing and bad thing on Snapchat. It would be good that you can communicate with your friends, but it will be bad if you get really highly addicted to it. So
do you find you're addicted to Snapchat? This is a safe space.
Honestly, I would say I was in between. I would not
Either
be
you are or you aren't, Carrie.
Okay. Let's say I am. I'm probably addicted to Snapchat because I really want to keep those streaks going on, and I like to text my friends because I feel for me I would actually prefer talking online than in person because I feel
Why?
in person because my English skill was not really good, and online the auto checking if I spell a word wrong, you just correct it for me. And also I feel more comfortable when I talk online because I can just change my word in 1 second.
You guys are nodding along. Do you all prefer talking on phones through text than in person?
No, I prefer talking in person.
Do you in person?
In person.
in person.
Would you pick up the phone and call someone if you had to?
Yeah, I actually just called someone.
Yes. Carrie, what about you? Would you prefer to call or text?
I honestly don't know because I don't really text or call people.
Oh,
But-
okay.
And I just kind of hide
no.
in my room.
I prefer if no
don't
one
really
communicates
social-
with me whatsoever unless it's through photo.
No one. Just I'm myself.
No, I love it. I love this conversation. I think it's important because this is a big part of socialization, particularly in grade 11 and grade 12. Nova Scotia is looking at banning social media for teens under 16. They're concerned about the impacts of social media on mental health. If you were not allowed to be on social media, if you were not allowed to have Snapchat or Instagram, how would you talk to your friends outside of school?
I would call them. I'd go to their house, or like text them like on messages.
Okay. What about you?
I think I would probably get their actual number and prefer to communicate that way.
You don't have your friends' phone numbers?
I do. A few of them, yes, but others they just don't use
This is just such a different world. That's why I'm surprised.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. A lot of my friends, I ask them for their number because sometimes I'm not as active on Snapchat and Instagram, and they'll be like, "Oh, I don't use my number," and I'll be like, "Okay, so like, what do you mean you don't use it?" Like, I feel like, yeah.
What about you?
I try to stay away from my phone as much as possible, like over the years, but I feel like definitely like a lot of my friends, they use Instagram or Snapchat as their main form of communication. So like with group projects, so if I didn't have access to those, like I think I would like struggle a lot and like because sometimes like students like we need to do group projects outside of school and we can't all meet up, right? We're all from different areas and all of us have different schedules. So
Okay, so my question for you then is, if a parent were to say, no, you can't have Snapchat or Instagram, if that was a hard rule, would they be ruining their child's life?
I feel like not. I feel like they would feel left out in terms of that. Like I'm in grade 12, so there's a lot of group chats about like grad stuff that's happening or like, events that are happening around. So they would definitely feel like isolated. And so social media provides that opportunity of connecting with other people, but then also isolating it if you take those, apps away sometimes.
For me, I would say I would definitely be a little bit upset, but as time goes along,
I'd be mad.
yeah, I would be upset. But I feel like as time goes along, I would understand why, because sometimes, there's a lot of pressure that you have to maintain friendships by texting every once in a while.
Keeping up the streak.
Yeah, so I feel like, if you don't actually use those and people still text you, then that just proves, who your real friends are. So I would definitely be happy about it, in the long term. But in the short term, I get it. Because, fear of missing out, you just want to know what's going on in everyone's lives. Especially in high school, there's so much pressure on being, involved in the school and, in classes. So, yeah, I definitely get, why some people prefer social media, to keep up with their friends. So, yeah.
What about bullying online? The thing about Snapchat is it disappears. So you can say awful things to someone and the evidence is gone pretty darn quick. Do you see that in high school, bullying through Snapchat and Instagram's disappearing messages? I know I might be saying these things and parents don't know they exist, but I am hip with the kids on the social media. And I have all of it myself, including TikTok. So because I want to know. I want to know what's on there. I want to know how it's being used. And I also want to know if there's a setting that I need to be aware of. So I'm in the loop. And so I know these things. You can send mean videos to each other. You can make videos about each other. Are you seeing that in high schools?
Yeah, I see it a lot. Like especially on stories and stuff, people post it like right away as soon as they find any evidence or they see anything happening. They're just gonna post it right on the story. It's gonna go viral in like 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes. So it's like quite normal.
Can you go viral in a high school? Is that a thing where everyone sees it?
Yeah, it's easy. It's very easy. I know a lot of people who are like, as soon as they post it, within 2 minutes, they're gonna get like 10 replies to the story and they're going to be like, where did this happen? Why did it happen? When did it happen? Like, it's just so normal.
So is there some relief in knowing that everyone doesn't have a phone during class in case something does happen at school? Like if you do something in class that's super embarrassing, you know that there's no way that someone could record it and post it?
I mean, I don't know.
People would still talk about it and it
They
would
would
get posted
talk about
another way.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, they would talk about it, but no one's probably going to believe it because there's no evidence. So
Picture it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I could ask you guys everything. I'm learning so much because things, they always are changing. And of course, everything trendy is what I was wearing in elementary and high school. So that's awesome. I want to bring in someone that you guys may know to this conversation. We'll just take a brief pause from you guys and we will come back to you. But I want to go to Simbal Aris. We've been hearing from you amazing students about what it's like to be in this school with different culture and language. And that's why Regina Open Door Society has 14 settlement support workers working in schools across the city. Simbal Aris is the elementary school transition coordinator with the Regina Open Door Society, and she joins us now. Welcome to Blue Sky.
Hi, everyone.
You're listening and you're hearing them talk. How does it feel to know that these are some of the kids that are help make newcomers feel comfortable in school? They're very with it. I will say that.
Honestly, it's very reassuring. I was listening to a conversation and I've worked with a lot of the peer leaders, so I know they're really trustworthy and dependable kids that we can kind of entrust the newcomers to. But it's really refreshing to see that a lot of them are in it for personal reasons as well. So a lot of you guys have experiences that you want to kind of bring to these newcomers and teach them about how to integrate into high schools in Regina. And that's kind of exactly the point we were trying to make with this program. It's because you guys know so much about the culture in high school and everything that's going on. It's so much more effective coming from the kids themselves.
What has changed since your experience of coming to Canada in grade 11?
So I moved to Canada when I was 4 years old, but I was in Ontario, so I was in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
okay.
then to Regina, I moved in like the end of grade 10, beginning
Going
of
into grade 11. Okay.
Yeah, going into grade 11. So it was quite interesting. We didn't have a lot of newcomers or immigrants. I went to Campbell, and believe it or not, there wasn't a lot. There was just a handful, and you pretty much knew who was, a newcomer or so if someone was new. So it was very different. We didn't have the peer leader program. Not a lot of supports for newcomers. I did know a couple of people from Toronto who had moved here, so I had maybe 2 friends, but I could not make new friends. It was really hard. Yeah.
I noticed you're wearing a hijab.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you started wearing it?
I was in grade 9, so I was already wearing it when I came.
Okay, but you noticed there's only a few newcomers when you came to school. Was there lots of questions for you when you came in and you were wearing it?
So fortunately for me, a couple of girls before me in high school were wearing it too. I think there was 2 girls other than me who wore hijab.
Bless the ones that come before you, right?
I know, but it was still very difficult because for me, the school that I went to before, it was so many people that wore hijab and just so many different cultures, and it's very diverse. So it was still very difficult to process, especially because when you have a lot of diversity in your school, you tend to kind of find people that are similar to you and become friends with them. So it was very difficult for me to kind of navigate that and understand that, okay, no, maybe now I need to make friends who are not just similar to me, different from me too. But yeah, it was not too bad. Yeah.
Not terrible is what I'm hearing. Okay. Let's talk about how busy you have been over the last few months welcoming people to Regina. 400 high school students is a lot. I imagine there's even more in elementary school as people come over and have babies and they grow up. How busy have you been at the Open Door Society welcoming people to our city?
We've been very busy. So our newcomer welcome center, they're the ones who register kids in schools. We have months where they see up to 300 clients. So it's quite busy. We have a lot of newcomers still coming in. With the high school, just the ones that are starting high school in September, newcomers, we have 400, around 400. So these are all the students that we've kind of been in contact with, made sure that they were given information about their own orientation and that they're being connected to the peer leaders.
Where are most people coming from? What countries are we seeing that people are deciding to make their homes in Saskatchewan?
We're seeing a lot from Ukraine, India. We're having some people from Sudan, some from Somalia. There's quite a diverse kind of group that we go to work with every day. Yeah.
We've talked about language with these kids, and how are you supporting students who may not speak any English? Like hello and goodbye might be it.
Yeah. So I work mostly with elementary school kids, and for English support, usually we work one-on-one to help families understand that how the importance of EL and how important it is for them to kind of do extra learning at home too. So we recommend reading about 30 minutes every day in English. And then additionally, I do a homework club once a week for 2 hours. So I have a bunch of kiddos that some are in person, some are online. I try to keep both so it's accessible for everyone. And yeah, mostly like I want to say about 99% is English learning. So I get very few kids who are like, oh, we need help with math or something else. It's mostly. So I was actually thinking, I was like, is this a homework club or is it like
An English club?
Yeah, but it's mostly English learning. Yeah.
Do we have enough EAL teachers?
Personally, I think we could use a lot more, because I know some schools get just part-time EL teachers, which I find is very difficult for kids, because although the school might just have a couple of new students, but they still need that support like throughout the week, not just once or twice a week.
I imagine that that's complicated if it comes in with needs of like a speech language pathologist as well, where you have speech, the difference between differentiating if it's a speech issue or a language issue as well, right?
Yes, so I work with high needs cases. So any case that's more difficult to work through or needs extra support, it gets referred to me. So I actually had a case like that last year where a student was struggling to communicate, but the teachers thought it was a speech problem. But then the parents were saying that no, she speaks in her own language at home, but she's just not able to communicate English. It was really difficult for her. But we've been working with the family and trying to provide as many supports as we can. The school has been very helpful too. And yeah, it definitely does happen.
How important is that early intervention, particularly with young kids? I know that as young kids, they're just sponges and they pick up language so much quicker. Anyone who's tried to learn another language as an adult knows that it can be a rough road. But how important is that early intervention and getting them into that support as quickly as possible?
I think it's super, super important, because I know like younger kids, the younger they are, it could take them just a few months to learn the language and like be able to speak all the slang, everything perfectly. Whereas when they're a lot older and they move to Canada, it's a lot more difficult to kind of get that language piece in.
And how do these kiddos help their parents? Because I know that I've just in having conversations where with adults, they'll sometimes bring their kids out to be their translators because they get so frustrated because the flow of the conversation isn't keeping up to the speed that they want, which doesn't bother me, but obviously bothers them more. So they scoot their little kid in front of them and say, help me figure this out. How important is that for helping the adults acclimatize to this, culture and language?
It's so important. I've seen it so many times where I'll have we work with the parents as well. So I'll have parents, and it's kind of, we have interpreters, but sometimes they're not available. So whenever it's kind of difficult, they'll say, oh, well, I can bring my kid, they can talk. And I found that a lot of the times the older siblings are doing a lot of the interpretation for teachers for younger siblings. And yeah, it's super helpful. I think it's a really great thing that, at least the kids are able to learn a little bit quicker, and then that way they're able to help their parents out too. I've also heard some concerns on the kind of flip side, if you wanted to, is it being interpreted accurately?
Or manipulated by the child who's like, I'm not going to tell them that.
Yeah, so we've had a few, teachers or principals reach out and be like, hey, could we get it interpreted, because we're not really sure if it's being interpreted correctly.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I'm not admitting I got in trouble today. This was a complete misunderstanding. What is your hope with this peer support program, and what do you need from the public? How can we help you make this more successful?
Yeah, so I think our main kind of objective with this program is to have newcomers have a safe space that they can go to, and like people that they feel safe around. And like from looking at our peer leaders, I feel like that's exactly what is kind of happening, and it's so nice to see. I think with help from the public, it's mostly just awareness about it, and like kind of getting the awareness out to newcomers and letting them know and helping them understand that like there are peer leaders available in every single high school, and that they can reach out to them very easily and get all kinds of support. Like if you are not able to explain your point of view or like anything you're struggling with, the teacher, they can help making friends, because like joining a club. Sometimes like, you know, you might want to join debate team or you might want to join social justice club, but you don't know how to go about it. So those are your people that you reach out to and ask for help.
There's so many more clubs than when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like diversity of everything, not just human beings, but we get a club for everything these days. Sambal, thank you so much for spending some time with us and giving us a sense of what you guys are doing over at the Open Door Society and for helping these kiddos do such great work in their high schools. Good luck with the next couple of weeks of getting everyone back to school.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. That's Sambal Aris. She's the elementary school transition coordinator with the Regina Open Door Society. We are coming up on the end of the show, but I want to end on some positive notes to get these kids amped up for going back to school, because not everybody is jazzed that they don't get to sleep in anymore and don't go to camp anymore and, you know, have to go back to structure. So, Carrie, I'm going to start with you. What are you most excited about when it comes to going back to school next week?
I can see my teacher again. I can meet my classmate, my friends, honestly, because this summer, I would say that we always say we're going to hang out, but we never did. People end up having, I don't know, camping for like 3 weeks in a row, and then we can't plan anything. I actually feel like I would be really excited to go back to school, meet my teacher and my new friends, and also my classmates. So, yeah, yay.
Ange.
I'm excited to meet my friends. I remember one of my friends told me that we're gonna hang out the whole summer, and then the very first day the break started, he said, "I'm going back to my home country until the school starts."
What's his home country?
Bangladesh.
Okay.
And he was like, "I'm gonna come back after the school starts on 3rd." So I was like, "How are you gonna hang out?" So I'm looking forward to hanging out with him, going to his house, and just studying with him during finals, making some memories last year of high school. So yeah.
Sifty, what are you most looking forward to?
For me, this is going to sound like, a little bit out of character, but I'm actually really excited to work with my classmates and, new students into Sheldon. We recently had our orientation around 2 weeks ago for Sheldon, and we had around like 25 new students. So this year I'm really excited to work with them, and I'm also on the school committee. So honestly, I'm just, really excited to make a change this school year and have an impact.
That doesn't sound out of character at all for the 45 minutes that I've known you. Envy, what about you?
I'm a music nerd. I love music. I'm excited for
Nothing wrong with a music nerd. Look at Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I mean, I think being in band is kind of cool now. So seeing so many new band kids join and choir kids. Our rehearsals are like at 7:45 a.m. I have to wake up at 6. And then I have to do school and then come back. We're doing a musical this year, and I'm auditioning. It's Moana, and I'm really hoping to
Are you hoping to be Moana?
Yes. I don't know. We'll see.
Have you been singing the movie all summer?
Yeah, I've watched it way too many times. It's actually concerning. But I'm just excited to, as Ansh said, my grade 12 year, just trying to end out with a strong end.
I have so enjoyed this conversation. I would love to check in with you guys in 6 months and see how school year is going. How would you feel about that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Carrie, you good? Okay, we'll check back in and see 6 months and see how grade 11 and grade 12 is going for you guys and how this program is working. And also, you can tell me more about the slang and all the things that we need to know about, because it has been a really long time since I've been in high school, and I have a kid that's going to be eventually going there, and I like to know everything. It's a blessing and a curse. Thank you all so much for being here. I have so enjoyed our time that we spent together today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, our guests, just to be clear on their names, we had Carrie Boo, who is a grade 11 at Lumsden High School. We had Ansh Budadev, who's a grade 12 at Campbell Collegiate. We had Vayomini Tanwar, grade 12, Miller Composite High School, and Sifty Kaur, who's a grade 11 at Sheldon Williams Collegiate.